Anton Robotnik Daniels, a back YouTube content creator, has seen his subscriber count skyrocket from a few 100,000 to nearly 1 million, a rise that coincides directly with his full-throated embrace of right-wing, racially coded propaganda. Once known for lifestyle and financial advice, Daniels has pivoted toward defending controversial conservative figures like CHARLIEKIRK and Donald Trump, often downplaying or outright denying the racist implications of their rhetoric. He parrots so-called Christian values promoted by these individuals while ignoring their dog whistles and veiled threats, such as the baseless and inflammatory claim that a radical leftist killed CHARLIEKIRK, a lie that briefly sparked calls for violent retaliation. Rather than condemn this dangerous rhetoric, Daniels continues to frame the political left as tyrannical enemies of American freedom, feeding into MAGA-driven narratives that vilify progressivism and deny systemic racism. YouTube's algorithm appears to reward Daniels and others like him for attacking black culture and minimizing white nationalist threats, perpetuating a system where black creators are incentivized to sell out their own communities for clout and monetization. Anton Robotnik Daniels has clearly aligned himself with anti-black interests, chasing conservative algorithms and cashing in on racial betrayal. Any black figure who supports or aligns with him is, by extension, complicit in that betrayal and an enemy to the collective progress of the black community.
Trump announcing it and being as visible as he is and being involved in the situation, in my opinion, is absolutely awesome because we have a president that is engaged versus what we were experiencing the last 4 years prior to him, or prior to this particular, run of Trump, the second term of Trump. And I think hopefully the family, which Trump said that J.D. Vance was actually out with the family instead of him. And I just love what America has become. I don't love the events that has taken place. I didn't like the news when I first heard it a couple days ago. I don't like the rhetoric that I hear from people on the left as far as how they are expressing such hate, and they use every situation where they can bridge a gap and they can mend relationships with the right or with people that may disagree with them. Every opportunity that we have to come together, they decide that they want to use it for hate and for evil and for ugly. And, they think that this was a victory for them, as though they were the ones that committed the crime, and they, are celebrating it. But I think that this evil, nasty, ugly rhetoric that celebrates the worst of us or the worst of our personalities is one of the reasons why this situation happened in the first place. And so, number one, I always just say a prayer up for the family. Number two, I am glad that the killer is caught. Number three, I'm thankful that we have a president that is super engaged with the people. Number four, vice president that's super engaged, that probably will win and become our next president after Trump's term, Trump's awesome next three years and change in office. And I'm also grateful for all of the people in the community that stands up for Christianity, stands up for beliefs in America, stands up for this country and the principles and the values and the traditional roles of household, and is continuing to try to push forward and is not going to let CHARLIEKIRK's legacy or name die in the face of this tyranny, this evil, this ugly sentiment that's coming from people that's against him or would love for him to have died. I believe that justice can't really be served in this situation, because the impact that CHARLIEKIRK had was much greater than we want to give it credit for. I think that some people would even say that CHARLIEKIRK, who was only 31 years old, could have at some point ran and became president of the United States of America. And so when you have people that disagree with you, people want to make this a race issue, they want to make it a race problem. I think that more or less we need to be focused on humanity. And just because you disagree with somebody or just because you think differently about an issue does not necessarily mean that that person deserves to lose their life. Charlie Kirk never committed a crime. He never did anything physically to anybody. All he did was express and talk about what he believed that America should be.
Sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
You were trying to get the officer who murdered George Floyd pardoned, and I just want to know what your reasoning was about that.
Well, George Floyd didn't die because of the police officer. He died largely because of a drug overdose.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other...
Here's the truth we all know. This country is not going to find internal peace or unity until the right wing learns to have some accountability for their words. The Utah governor should be resigning or abjectly apologizing today. That man did something incompetent, grotesque, disgusting, a complete violation of the public trust, and no one even notices. He stood at a press conference 2 days ago, right after Charlie Kirk was killed, and talked about the motive before they had a suspect. That is so egregious. He talked about the great American experiment and that this was a political assassination, inferring, assuming, implying that it was a leftist, liberal Democrat trying to affect political narrative. So too the entire right-wing echo chamber, so too all the right-wing leaders all said that. They're all wrong. Completely wrong. But will you hear that from any of them? Will any of them apologize for inciting and inflaming the public with a false narrative? No, you will not. Nor will you hear them say this: you were right, liberals, leftists, Democrats. It's the guns. By which I mean gun culture. I am not talking about hunting. I'm not talking about teaching your children about safe use of guns in the woods. I am talking about gun culture where adolescent boys are bathed in assault rifles and photographed with them and learn to use guns as a mode of expression and self-empowerment. I am talking about political leaders who wear assault rifles on their lapels as a symbol. That's the problem. 1,500 mass shootings in the last 25 years. That's the problem. This is another case of the same problem. But until Republicans admit that they're wrong when they talk without facts, and then admit who was right about the facts, we got ourselves a problem.
I understand it now. I get it. Y'all can't stand the mirror that's been put in front of your face. All of the shit that y'all have been serving for the last few decades now against minority communities. Y'all can't stand having to look at it when it affects you. See, that's the thing. I finally get it. It took me a lot of time because I'm thinking, why are people reacting so violently to this? And it reminds me of the very first event that I had when I was escaping the alt-right pipeline and changing my mindset of that. Was that anger and violence? Because see, here's the thing. And here's the thing you really don't understand because you refuse to put yourself in other people's shoes and actually be empathetic to other people's situations. How do y'all think the black community has felt for the last 5 years since George Floyd has died? All the memes y'all shared about that. How do you think they felt about the memes about Breonna Taylor, you know, the woman who was gunned down in her sleep during a no-knock raid? How do you think the Latino community has felt for the last 8 months with y'all cheering Trump for his deportation efforts and buying merch for Alligator Alcatraz and egging it on that human suffering is a great thing for this country? How do you think the gay community felt with all the jokes y'all made about the Pulse nightclub shooting a few years back in Orlando that killed 50 plus people in a predominantly gay club? You are truly experiencing for the first time how it tastes. The hatred y'all have been spilling out of your guts for years finally comes back at you. And that's the thing you don't like. But you know what? The funny thing about all of it is, where's the black community calling for war with how you have treated them? Where's the Latino community going up in arms and calling for war? And no, fighting off ICE and protesting, that is not war. That is civil disobedience, and that is our First Amendment right.
The governor of Utah was visibly upset and on the verge of tears today during a press conference after he found out that the person who allegedly unalived Charlie Kirk was not an immigrant. Check out this video.
I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped.
What a strange thing to say. So he was praying that it was an immigrant and not one of them. This is of course coming in after the person who allegedly unalived Charlie Kirk was captured. He was actually turned in by his own family. They really wanted it to be an immigrant. And as you can very clearly tell, he's not an immigrant, he's not Hispanic, he's not Latino, he's not brown, he's not indigenous. He is a homegrown European American. But there you have it, guys. I think the governor of Utah said the quiet part out loud, but anyways, let me know what you guys think.
That if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody...
You wanted him to be an immigrant. That's what you wanted. You either wanted him to be a or a Mexican immigrant. Y'all was banking on it. Y'all was like, yes, if he could have just been a Mexican, if he could have just been black, we could have get this race war on and popping. Yeah. No race war for you. It was a 22-year-old white kid whose daddy was a Republican pastor and the whole family were Trump supporters.
These are the individuals who embody a dangerous mix of unaccountability, extremism, blind ideological devotion, and apparent lack of empathy, traits commonly associated with the most radical elements of the Republican MAGA movement. They operate without regard for facts, norms, or consequences, often embracing conspiracy theories, engaging in inflammatory rhetoric, and showing open hostility toward democratic institutions. Their behavior suggests a detachment from reality and a willingness to excuse or even glorify authoritarian tendencies so long as it aligns with their agenda. And yet, Anton bizarrely chooses to defend and glorify these people, as if they're heroes worthy of praise, offering them admiration and support in return for butter biscuits and Judas trinkets. Yet another subservient mascot that descends from William O'Neill lineage.